Here. Here.
Mrs. Gensimer,
Present.
Mr. Kraftcheck,
Present.
Mr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Parzak,
Here.
Mrs. Rich.
Here. The meeting is now open. Adequate notice of the meeting was provided by posting a copy of the time and place on the municipal clerk's bulletin board and mailing a copy of same to the press and the Cape May County Herald on April 16th, 2020. Will everyone please rise to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, this work session is being held via video telephone conference in a Zoom format. The first thing we have on our work session is I'm going to ask Jenny Olson, the tourism director, to talk to us about a special event application submitted by St. Brendan, the Navigator Parish.
Okay, you hear me okay?
Yep.
This event application just came in last week. And this is for St. Brendan's annual Wedding of the Sea ceremony. The date of the event is Saturday, August 15th. It's from 10:30 to noon, 10:30 a.m. to noon. Location is at the 80th Street Recreation Field and Pavilion. They are expecting approximately 200 to 250 people. What they're asking is to utilize some of the outdoor space at the recreation department for a church mass and then a procession to the beach. Specifically, it's the outside area underneath the pavilion. It's the edge of the covered basketball court and then the open field. There is a diagram, I believe, that you all got. It was previously held inside the church, but in order to adequately social distance, they're requesting the use of the field. Participants will be bringing their own lawn chairs for use during the mass, and they can set up 6 feet apart. At the end of the mass, the group will proceed to the beach across from the field. They will need the police to stop traffic briefly while they cross First Avenue. They're also requesting some EMT staff be present in case of extreme heat. And they are aware during the event that the tennis and pickleball courts are open. The building will be locked, so there will be no access to the building. And finally, they're requesting for the fees to be waived. That decision is up to council. The fees for the event total $750. That includes the use of the field for the day, which is $500. And the application review fee is $250. That higher fee is because the application was received less than 30 days prior to the event. If anybody has any questions.
I don't have any questions. When we bring this to the regular meeting, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the fees for this event.
Looking at the last page, Jenny, I'm going to assume that police and fire saw it.
It's in circulation. I'm not sure where it is at the moment. It's going through each, I put it in circulation last week.
Okay, we haven't had time to see any responses.
I have not received it back yet.
Okay.
And just to mention too, that the use of the field, typically we charge that $500 for the day. They are only using the field for an hour and a half.
This is a relatively short evolution, a couple hours. I don't think, I can't speak for the police chief, but I can't see him having a problem with it or EMS. And, I think we've accommodated the chamber with 4 days of sidewalk sale and our beaches are open. So I don't believe this presents a problem to the borough.
The only thing I'm concerned about is making sure that there's a crew available. If they want EMTs down there at the field, is there a crew available and has that been verified?
I do not have confirmation on that
We don't
yet.
have that yet. Okay,
And they will, I don't have their insurance yet, but they will provide a certificate of insurance prior to the event.
and then after the field, then the procession goes to the beach, correct?
The beach right there.
Right there at 81st Street.
Yeah, so they'll need, someone to stop that traffic while they cross First Avenue.
Okay. Any council members have any questions before I know we don't like to do things in the work session and then vote on it in the regular meeting, but it looks like we don't have the time here to do it any other way. So we're going to be bringing it forward for a vote.
I'd like to just add that the reason for the delay in this is the fact that there was a new pastor appointed July 15th. And the question of the wedding of the sea just came up within the last week or so.
Okay. Okay.
Do we
No
need-
more questions? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
do we need any comments on waiving the fee for this event?
That'll happen in the meeting when we bring it forward for a vote. Right now, it's just for discussion and the vote will come at the regular meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay. We'll bring that forward for a vote then at the regular council meeting. Now we'll move on to A and F. Mr. Kraftcheck.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, we have Mark de Blasio with our engineer's report.
Okay, thank you. In regard to the 94th Street Sanitary Sewer Pump Station project, the building a wet well portion, here is the update. The prefabricated pump station building is completed, currently in storage, and is scheduled to be delivered to the site in late August. Similarly, the sanitary sewer pumps are scheduled for delivery in late August as well. The contractor is scheduled to start the well installation actually tomorrow. He had a delay with the weather today. They will be dewatering this week and excavating next week. At that point in time, we should have the wet well installed 2 weeks from the start of the excavation, which would be August 10th. So that will continue to proceed. The underground utility portion is still in hibernation until September after the summer season, and we are still on target to be completed by November of this year. The 2020 utility and road program is still on schedule for public bidding in September, with construction to start in the fall. We may be able to have this ready to bid at the end of the month of August. We're going to go through the review with Grant, and if we can accelerate that, we will be out to bid hopefully by the end of August. The 111th Street and 114th Street beach outfall elimination project is currently being surveyed and base mapped. While we were doing that, we had a request from the borough to add the 116th Street beach end portion to the project. We provided a proposal for that for borough review. Upon authorization, we will complete that additional work and incorporate that into the project. Next item, on July 30th, we had a bid opening for the water meter replacement project. We received 4 bids that range between 1.3 and 1.7 million. We're in the process of detailed review of the bid submission because the low bid provided an or equal to what was specified. So we have to be very careful in how we review that because there is a approximately $400,000 savings. So we're going to be reviewing that line by line. We'll be sitting down with Grant, and we will also have a conference with the solicitor, and we'll be bringing a recommendation forward hopefully within the next week or two. Last capital project, the lifeguard building EP CAFRA permit has been deemed complete. It's currently in the public comment period. We have not received any negative comments at this point, and we'll continue to monitor that through the DEP. Lastly, I just have one update on the grant applications. We still have that opportunity to submit for the Cape May County Open Space application. I know we did speak about this recently in our Tourism and Recreation Committee. Just as a reminder, that application deadline is December 15th of this year, and upon authorization, we will get working on that. That is my report.
Mark, when does the public comment close on the CAFR permit?
I believe it's a 30-day, but I have to double check.
Okay.
But what's encouraging is we really haven't received any requests from the DEP for clarifications or additional comments. So that's typically a good sign, but I don't want to jinx this.
And Mark, you're comfortable with the pump station? Everything's proceeding in accordance with the plan?
Yeah, we had a 2-week impasse because we found some soils that were below, to get into the technical details, we found some soils that were below the foundation of the wet well. We really weren't comfortable without an augmented base system. So we are putting helical piles in below that. This way we could put our head on the pillow to make sure that that pump station is solid and doesn't sink. So we had an extra coordination glitch to get the helical pile subcontractor in, which caused about a 2-week delay. But we are still on target. We're proceeding for towards the project closeout, and I think that was a prudent step that we took.
Agreed. The helicoils are in now.
Now, what happened was they had to throttle back their schedule to time this up because they can't, you can appreciate this, they can't dig a 30-foot hole, leave it open, and hey, wait for the contractor to come in 2 or 3 weeks. So they got to time it so that they get that hole open and it stays open very minimally. They get the helical piles in and bang, they start setting the wet well. So it's kind of like trying to coordinate those 2 schedules.
Makes sense. I don't have anything further from Mark. Does anyone else?
Yes, I have a question on the speed bumps on the other side of the bridge. Have we gotten any information on the effect that they have had on the bridge?
Councilman, was that for me?
Actually, I could probably help with that, Councilman. I've been working with Bob Church and I've not received any follow-up with respect to the results. But I can make sure I reach out to him and see if he has had any studies since the implementation of the speed tables.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if that's it for Mark, we'll move on to our tax collector. Debbie, do you have anything for us? I
Can't
think
hear you, Deb.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So on July 13th, I sent out 20 tax sale notices. 10 will be advertised and the tax sale will be held September 2nd. We have had 124 irrigation violations since mid-July. Direct debit enrollments continue to come in. In fact, the tax file is over $1 million and Sturdy had to raise our cap from 900,000 to 1.5 million for tax and 300,000 to 500,000 for utilities. So that program is going extremely well. And that's all I have. Anyone have questions?
I don't have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Margaret Slavin, our tax collector, on here?
Margaret is not.
Our tax assessor.
I have her report if you want me to read it.
Sure.
July was a steady month in the tax assessor's office. There were 17 deeds processed, with 8 being real cash transactions. She processed 7 certified lists. There were 7 COA inspections and fee calculations. She also processed numerous address changes and fielded assessment questions from homeowners and appraisers.
Okay. Since she's not here, if she can't field any questions, we'll move on to construction and zoning.
Good afternoon, everybody. This August, more than doubled the construction permits every aspect from building, electric, plumbing, contractors licenses. We had 3 more outdoor dining permits, street openings. Everything is up, as I say, more than double from last August. The interesting one is the property transfers have more than doubled, and they did the previous month as well. And in August, as of tomorrow, which is only August 5th, we've already will be exceeding last August's title transfers. So construction office has been very busy for an August, or for July rather. We had 2 zoning board hearings last night. One was approved on, both of them on Sunset Drive. 10911 Sunset was approved. Well, 11117 Sunset was not approved, but they got to come back to the board with revised plans. And finally, we're looking at the Sisters of the Sacred Heart coming up for a zoning board meeting. I'm not sure. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do that venue. We don't know if we're going to be able to do it live, or if we're going to have to do that via Zoom, or if we have the, like I say, a venue to do that, but that should be coming up. That is deemed complete as of last week. The application is complete. So we'll be trying to figure out how we're going to put this meeting together next. Anybody have any questions?
I think you meant to say the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
Yeah, I said the Sacred Heart. I apologize.
Thank you, Ray. Can we have our Borough Clerk's report?
Yes, for the month of July, we had 5 boat trailers, 5 kayak permits, 14 parking permits, 4 boat slips, 15 business registrations, 7 marriage licenses, 3 sailcraft permits, 2 liquor license renewals, 1 club license renewal, 1 concession stand payment, 18 certified copies, 4 public appearances, 1 Oprah and 1 amusement license. Total for the month was $36,194.
Okay, any questions for Sue? Hearing none, we can move on to our CFO, Jim Kraft. Jim, are you on?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. I was going to talk about the emergency resolution that's on tonight for discussion. This resolution is to fund a shortfall in salary and wages budgeted for the Beach Patrol. The shortage is a result of 2 issues. The first issue is not enough was budgeted to cover the wage increase. When the 2020 budget was developed in December of 2019, $600,000 was allocated for Beach Patrol salaries. That amount represented a 22% increase over the prior year budget. After the resolution was passed establishing the 2020 salaries for the Beach Patrol, the budget was not revisited to reflect the new projected cost. As a result, the budget should have increased an additional $150,000 to $750,000 instead of the $600,000. So that's the first part. The second part is there's an increase in the number of guards and the days worked by those guards over the prior year. And one of the reasons is due to the pandemic. An effort was made to keep more beaches protected than in prior years. So the increase in the number of guards employed and the number of days worked resulted in an increase over 2019 by 27.73% of days worked. That equals about $190,000 in wages. And between those 2 numbers, the 190 and the 150, rounded, these both the 150 and the 190 were rounded, equals the $335,000 that we're asking for an increase in that appropriation to finish the 2020 season.
Thank you. And Jim, it's my understanding that because of the way the relevant statutes are written with regard to these finances, we are not allowed to transfer interline. So the money is available from other sources within the borough budget. However, we're not able to transfer those line items over until November. Is that correct?
It is. It's absolutely correct. Yeah. So this will be, yeah, so, and probably in November or December, we will ask for a resolution to cancel some appropriations that were not needed because of it wasn't a regular 2020 season. And that will help fund certain revenue shortages that also happen, and hopefully also fund this appropriation as well. And we'll know more as we get closer to the end of the year.
Okay, great. Jim, did you want to speak to the audit as well? I know we have a resolution accepting that audit. I
Yes.
reviewed it. It doesn't seem as though there's anything remarkable. And if you had any comments, I'd like to give you the opportunity to share them.
Yeah, so yeah, this is, there was no, for the 6th year in a row, there was no comments or recommendations by the auditors in this report. Yeah, they gave a clean opinion, and everything went smoothly considering the circumstances. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions for Jim? Seeing none, I will turn it back over to you, Mayor. And that completes A and F.
Okay, thank you. We'll move right into the Public Works with Councilmember Parzik.
Before we launch into Public Works, I just wanted to, trying to find you on the screen here, Judy. I wanted to, oh, there you are. Since, 4 years ago, the sewage station on 94th Street that Mark just talked about gave us an update, and the stormwater station on 93rd Street, they're kind of married at the hip, and we're going along to get the sewage station completed so we can start in on the 93rd Street stormwater. And I just think perhaps, I know we talked about it at the flood mitigation meeting, but maybe next month we ought to have Mott McDonald come in and give a little update on where they are with that, because I think the public knows that they were together at one point and then we split them apart, and you got to be wondering, like, haven't really heard much about that lately. So maybe we ought to think about that for.
We could do that. We could do that presentation in 2 weeks. Sure.
You think
ask them to do that.
do you think that's a good idea, that we should do that?
I'm trying to think the last time that we had Tom Thornton give us an update. Didn't we do that about 4 weeks ago? Or not?
I think
Or have I just seen it?
No, we did. I think he did one, but it's been considerably more than 4 weeks ago. And I'm not saying, in September.
Right.
But maybe we ought to keep it on the calendar, maybe beginning of October or somewhere, to let people know where we stand with that.
Okay, and where we are, because once the 94th Street is ready to go, then 93rd Street, then that's the step where 93rd Street then can start. Yes, sure, we'll make sure we do that. Yes, we'll get it on the agenda, definitely.
And we had a Public Works Committee meeting scheduled for today with considerable items to go over, some of which Mark de Blasio already touched on. We postponed it due to the storm because Public Works had enough to do without trying to do a meeting at 9 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to turn it over to Grant. Grant's going to give you an update on what the storm did to the town today, and also let us know, I guess, where the modular bathrooms are on 95th Street, Grant.
Yes.
And whatever else he has to report on.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Everybody get their reports? Were they turned over? Okay. Just one significant thing I would like to talk about on the report was we had an increase of our tonnage for trash and recycling by 80 tons over last year's June report. Just to give you an idea that we have a lot of people in town, even though some of our stores and businesses are reduced in their capacity. We had 482 citizen contacts, which were taken care of, 110 in-house contacts that were taken care of. We sold the police boat today for $20,600, which I was very surprised because we didn't meet the 20 grand that I had put on it the first time we had it up on Gov Deals. I took it down, contacted the lowest bidder. He didn't want it. So we waited a couple of weeks and put it back up, and it got sold today to someone in New York State. The storm that we had today, we had 70 mile an hour sustained winds. We had down trees along the tennis courts on 96th Street. A couple of down trees on the islands, broken limbs on a lot of the sycamore trees. Branches and sticks and leaves are in the streets. We tried to get as much of that up off the street as possible. Unfortunately, when the eye of the storm went through, a lot of the residents came out. So there was a lot of people out on the streets. So we weren't able to get in there and clean it up as much as we would like to. We'll be out there first thing tomorrow morning around 6 a.m., 5 a.m. for the sweepers to start cleaning up all that debris. We did take down the banner. Actually, we collapsed the banner on 96th Street and 300 block to save that. All the hanging baskets on the 200 block were taken down and stored for the duration of the storm. They'll be put back up after we get everything cleaned up. Probably Thursday or Friday they'll get put back up. We did have a Hobie cat that got loose from the parking lot, is now in the Garden of Remembrance. And a couple of their masts are on the island at 122nd Street. Got a large amount of sand move on the beach. Our 2 rakes will be out tomorrow morning, as well as our beach department. Try to clean up a lot of that situation. We did pull all of our trash cans off to the street side, and they'll be reset tomorrow. We had no flooding at the marina. We had minor flooding on 3rd Avenue. I was very surprised because the Great Channel was enraged.
We lost them on that word.
I'm not sure if he's aware he's frozen.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how long he'll be frozen. And we need him for the utilities report as well. I just lost him on my screen.
I did too.
He lost his internet connection.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait for
Which-
him. I guess.
Do you have anything, Ray? Oh, here it comes. There's his face.
I don't know where I lost you. Anyway, we
You said
suspended.
enraged.
What's that?
Your last word was enraged.
Oh, the Great Channel was enraged. It didn't bring any water into the North Basin like I had anticipated. We did put out the floodgate, and we did not have any significant flooding on the parking lot. So it actually didn't deploy because it was about 3 feet from the top of the ramp. So we got lucky there. There was some minor flooding along 3rd Avenue. Also, we suspended trash and recycle pickup today. Everything will be pushed forward to Tuesdays will be picked up on Wednesday, and Wednesday on Thursday, and so on. So Saturday's pickup on the changeover will be on Sunday, unfortunately. So we will be bringing in a full crew on Sunday, not just doing our regular commercial pickup. So a lot of work to do tomorrow. Unfortunately, we lost a couple 30-year-old trees right there on the tennis courts at 96th Street. I did not want to get into that area because the atrium next door and the condos next door had some issues with the roof peeling off, and it was a hazard. I didn't want my employees in there. We had no issues with employees or vehicles being damaged today, so we got very lucky.
Oh, that's
That's my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Grant.
You're welcome.
That's it for Public Works, Mayor.
Thank you, Ray. We'll go right into utilities with Reese Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to provide an update on our water supply and usage. We've got a lot of information to go through. I want to start off just with some background information so that you can understand the process. We pump our water from a confined aquifer called the Atlantic City 800. And that aquifer is a groundwater basin that extends from Atlantic City to below Stone Harbor. And then our water is pumped from 4 wells on the island. Department of Environmental Protection establishes a monthly water limit for us. And want to go over some numbers for our water usage this year. Both the usage this year in May and June are up about 38% and 43% respectively from last year. Our July usage was 45.911 million gallons versus a 52.0 million monthly limit. So it was only up 3% last year. We've also done some projections as far as where we would end up for the year. We're going to expect to have an increase of about 23.5% compared to last year, but that will still keep us within the annual limit that was established by the DEP. Just as a point of information, the high usage impacts the ability for our wells to recover, and there is a potential fine from the DEP if our usage is 5% over our monthly limit. As we looked into the reasons and the factors contributing to the increase, first and foremost, and for the most part, is because of more people in town since March due to the virus. Also have an increase in the irrigation frequency and the amount. And then there's also subject to the rainfall. So we've met a number of times within the last several weeks and have established an action plan. First off is just understanding and recognizing that the borough is the single largest water user. So as in part because of that, the borough's reduced the water frequency and amount. Also canceled an ultra flush that was scheduled for October. And we're in the process of updating the borough's conservation plan. Bottom line is we all need to conserve water. We're reviewing the possible changes to the water allocations and the fines for non-compliance. We'll continue to monitor it and communicate the results along with the conservation efforts to the homeowners, and also expect to be sending a letter to the DEP to notify them proactively of our plan to reduce the water usage. So that's some information on the water supply and water usage. Let me pause here and just if there's any questions. Okay, seeing none. Also wanted to give a brief update as far and other clarification about the resolution that we had at the last council meeting on July 21st about the resolution that we passed awarding the professional service contract to the VCOM communications consultants. And the contract is for VCOM to assist us with the development options for the future 5G implementation by wireless carriers. We have want to make sure that we are proactive to assess the future demand for additional bandwidth. And we've also been clear to VCOM that it's a priority that as they develop an implementation plan and including alternatives, that it avoids as much as practical undesired consequences to provide the service. So I just wanted to give that clarification regarding the resolution from the last council meeting. Anyone have questions about that? Okay, I have nothing further. I want to turn it over to Grant if you have any other further comments. Grant, do you have anything else to add?
I think you covered pretty much everything we had discussed. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you this afternoon. We're a little bit busy over here at Public Works with the storm. So
No,
I
thanks
will-
for getting back to me with with all the information. Very, very helpful.
Okay.
And also, I think did a great job with the, with the storm coming in and, making sure proactively we're prepared for it. Pass along appreciation to your whole group.
I will. Thank you.
Anything more from utilities, Reese?
No, I think that's it, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We have one item for discussion. And it is, I'm going to turn it over to the administrator to kind of lead us through this. And this is an idea that we are tossing around on how we'll be able to continue these meetings in a fashion that is safe, but puts the governing body and professionals in the same room.
Thank you, Mayor. About a month or so ago, I was tasked with the responsibility of looking into various options to make sure that we continue to comply with sunshine and to make sure that we engaged the public as much as possible. And that goal comes with the desire, I think, from the council to convert to a live meeting, or at least partially live. And so what I did is I reached out to the college, and they had referred an adjunct professor. His name is Martin Fiedler. He also has a company who does that type of work in the area. He's currently engaged by Ocean City. And Martin had the opportunity to make a presentation both to myself and others individually, and then it was brought to the A&F committee. We looked at, different possibilities. One was going straight live. One was continuing as we are, 100% remote. And then we also looked at the third possibility, and that was a hybrid. And I think, and I'll let the council president weigh in here, but I think what we had concluded was probably the best way is to walk into it slowly and to make the transition over time, as opposed to jumping straight from a Zoom meeting, completely remote, to a meeting that would be completely live. We are still compromised, if that's the right word, by the executive order and the number of people that we're allowed to have at live meetings. So we thought the best process might be to go from the Zoom meeting that we're having, still engaging the public, in fact, probably bringing more public into the process because people have gotten more comfortable with Zoom. But again, making it a hybrid meeting where the council and key members of staff are live and conversing with each other. And I understand that there are limitations to that. And then eventually evolve to a process where we are live. However, we're paying closer attention to getting the meeting out to the public. And I think that this format, while it has a lot of limitations and while we are concerned about security, it has had the effect of bringing more public into the meeting. And I know that that is everybody's desire, to have greater public participation. So I will let the council president speak with respect to that and what happened at committee, but also Martin is here somewhere. And I think maybe he can jump in and just lay out precisely what he thinks works for Stone Harbor, knowing who we are and having listened to our issues and concerns at committee. Martin, you want to jump in and maybe just give a very, very brief overview of what you're suggesting and proposing, and maybe speak briefly about what you're doing in Ocean City and how it's worked out?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. And thanks for the opportunity to attend one of these meetings so I can get a feel for how your meetings are conducted. Yes, I do have a video company, and we do specialize in customized applications like what we're talking about here. And what I've learned, having gone through the process now with Ocean City, is that the platform we use is GoToMeeting. You're using Zoom. They're essentially the same thing. But one of the things that happens is that you need someone to physically interface that together in a hybrid situation. The reason being, if you have more than one device in the same room, you get a feedback. So essentially what we have come up with is that we do use a sound system, very similar to the existing sound system you have in the chambers. We use 2 cameras. I can actually tie into the camera that's there in the chambers, and I can bring an additional camera to take it up to a 2-camera system. And what that would do is allow us to visualize the entire room. So if people are spaced out for social distancing, the camera would still be available for them. The cameras would get switched by myself on site. We would be making recordings of the meetings, very similar to what you do now, and they would be deployed online or on your channel 97, however you choose to do that, continue to do it as you're doing it now. The trick, if you will, is that interface where you go back and forth between the folks that are conversing in the room and then going to the folks that are coming in remotely, whether it be public comment or some of your folks that would be remoting in. We'd actually have to handle it in a situation, and this is what I'm doing in Ocean City now. It's almost like a boat radio or a police radio or a walkie-talkie, where one person gets to talk and then it's the other. It's you got to have a little bit of a play back and forth between the remote people and the people that are in the room live, and that is something I would also facilitate in this hybrid situation. Happy to answer any questions about it or get more technical if you want. Most people want to be less technical. And that's one of the reasons you've made the call, is because there is a little bit of technology involved here.
So for public comment, that'll all be verbal, correct? There's not going to be any video of those who are watching the streaming, so to speak, correct?
Well, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. In Ocean City, we do not allow the public to use their webcam. All they get to see at home is the 2 cameras from where the meeting is taking place. And by the way, all the council people do attend the meeting these days. But we went through a period that was identical to what you're doing now, where everyone was on a, sort of a Zoom call. Yeah.
So the public then, we would be on video, but the public is not. We just hear them, they dial in, correct, for their public comment?
For the most part, that's
Okay.
That's a scenario that I would think would work best for you, yeah. And
Okay.
it eliminates a little bit of the security concerns as well.
Okay.
Yeah, with GoToMeeting, we actually have we're able to generate a list of the folks who attended the meeting. And their email addresses, their telephone numbers, whatever, so that there is some accountability for who's actually in on the meeting after the fact, which I think is a nice feature to have.
Okay.
And like yourselves, Ocean City had never done a meeting that was live. It was always just recorded and then deployed online or on their channel 97. So this was kind of a policy change for them as well, where the meetings were, live, and some other towns, like I'll take Galloway, for example, they've only ever done a live meeting and never had the recorded after the fact. So, different municipalities and different forms of government are going to, handle it slightly different. And it's up to you.
The only, I listened to your presentation at A&F, and I go back to the only thing that concerns me is that we're going to lose that ability to have a back and forth dialogue with somebody making public comment. And I think that's going to be difficult to get used to.
Well, just as we're doing now, there's that point where, when one person's done talking and you sense, that the other person is going to talk, and we just flip that scenario over.
Hear from all the public at once, and then council respond all at once. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so that's an interesting point, because in Ocean City, their policy is it's public comment. There is no back and forth dialogue whatsoever. So, and just as it says, it's public comment. So they listen, and then administration or whoever will address, after all the public comment has been made. Yeah, and they also have a time limit, which I understand you do not.
And some of our comments, some are of a question and some are a comment. So it kind of depends on who the person is too. Are they actually asking a question, or are they making a comment? But I personally like the back and forth as opposed to just listening. It's not so much a debate as an exchange, so to speak, but
Right.
I think I would speak for everybody when I say we like to have the back and forth. We do prefer that.
So I have a question, which is probably a comment also. I understand the concept of stepping on each other when you're going back and forth, but I think it can be structured in such a way that it's not taking all of the comments in quiet and then waiting till they're concluded until you respond. I think it's more a matter of just making sure that there's a process that when somebody's speaking, they're done speaking and you're not going to step on them. When you start stepping on each other, it gets kind of crazy for Sue and others when they try to figure out what is being said. But Martin, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that you can set it up in such a way that there is that colloquy, there is that back and forth, as long as there's that pause. Okay, I've concluded my thought or my question, and then as the presiding officer of the meeting, Mayor, you would, I think, be able to say, okay, we can now respond. Is that correct or not?
Well, look at how pilots and air traffic controllers work. You're talking about basically the same thing. There isn't an opportunity for them to step on each other either. They've just gotten comfortable with how the process works, and it seems to go pretty flawlessly.
I think that we could do that back and forth. I think that because a lot of times with all of us being in the same room, being able to talk, we will not be stepping on one another. So that's not a concern. Correct? We'd just be doing that public comment. And I think if we just take that second to see if there's anything more, I think we could do it.
And if
we say over at the end of our sentence, over.
That would be the extreme.
If we muddle through a meeting or two until we get the hang of it, I think it's well worth it to have that dialogue back and forth.
I agree.
I agree. And I think we have on here listed that we're going to perhaps attempt to dry run at this at an agenda meeting.
Yeah, we're going to try it on Tuesday. I have a question for Martin. You are dialing into, for lack of a better word, tapping into our existing taping system, correct? For ease for the clerks when they do the minutes, that will be recorded.
Yes, I actually investigated the system, and so all of the microphones that are on the dais and the podium would be utilized as the sound source for the Zoom meeting. And one of the existing camera would also be used. So it's not somebody's device. In fact, just because of the feedback issue, no one in the room would be on a device. Now, we may want to talk about positioning some of the microphones, in alternate places around the room, depending on how far, you're spread out. But yeah, the sound system would work essentially the same way it does and always has. And so you wouldn't lose any of the existing capabilities. You'd still have your video files, your audio files, free to post it online.
And we would still have Carrie there taping as usual. She's usually in that small area, and she's usually running that recorder. And then that's how the clerks do the minutes, is off that recorder.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point in Ocean City where, my recordings have become the official document. So,
okay.
So we've kind of not casting aspersion on whether you need to reduce workforce there, but yeah, you can continue to do what you're doing, and this would be totally in addition to that.
Okay. And the one thing for council members and the professionals, just so you are aware, executive order does say if the group is over 10 people, you have to be masked. So we are going to need to be masked as soon as you exceed 10 people. Just so everybody's aware. It looks like we'll have a minimum of probably 13.
Mayor, just to be clear, that's when we're speaking as well. So it's throughout the entire meeting, right?
That's my understanding of the executive order. If somebody wants to take a look at it and see if they see, but that's my understanding is if there's 10 or more people, you must wear face coverings at all times, except where doing so would inhibit your health or where the individual is under 2 years of age. If your group is under 10, it says you should wear a mask. Over 10, you must. So, and that's just a little reminder too in committee meetings. If you exceed 10 people, the group is supposed to have a mask on according to the executive order. So we can do that. We'll do the run masked and everything and see on Tuesday how we can position also people throughout the council chambers, see how that looks, where we can put people, and we'll see. Because the other thing too is it's important for the zoning and planning meetings to start getting something like this together too. So we can begin to see how we can do this. Any other questions for anybody? From anybody?
No, the only thing I was going to add is, and as we discussed, I believe at previous committee meeting, is when we actually do reintroduce the public, I think obviously there needs to be a host of protocols, but I think in particular, we need to address approaching the microphone in person when that does happen and how they can stand far enough away from the microphone that there's no contamination in the microphone, but yet project their voices so that it's heard and recorded.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Anything else, Bob, on this?
No, I imagine we have a green light to begin with Martin, and we can give it a test drive and see if it works for us from now until the end of the year.
And Martin, just by way of clarification, at this point, we're thinking we would continue with Zoom and not do the GoToMeeting format as far as the public? Or are we going to continue to do Zoom? Is that our call? What is the thoughts there?
It's up to you. I mean, Zoom certainly works. There's no question about that. So from the viewer standpoint, the public viewer standpoint, nothing would change on their end.
Okay.
You know, the difference would be that now that the signal, the picture quality will probably be better because they're professional cameras. It's not a cell phone or, you know, a webcam. And, you know, you'll be together in the same room for the most part. That's not to say that you couldn't have council people still remoting in if they choose to.
Or one of the professionals or somebody maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and from a public standpoint, it's what they're accustomed to with Zoom. We would have that nothing can change, you know, nothing would change on that format. You still go to our website, click on the link, and you'd be publicly viewing the meeting. So nothing would change that way for the public.
Yeah, yeah. Whoever set up the meeting, you know, they've generated that number, and you probably advertise that, and yeah.
Yep. Okay. Good. Okay. So we'll keep moving along with it, and we'll see how that goes. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for any of the committees or for the hybrid meeting? Okay. Seeing nothing further, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The work session is adjourned, and we're going to move right into the regular meeting. The meeting is now called to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Here.
Mrs. Gensimer? Mrs. Gensimer?
I don't see her on.
I don't see her either.
Give her a second to come back.
Mr. Kraftcheck,
Here.
Mr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Parzak,
Here.
Mrs. Rich,
Here.
Mrs. Gensimer.
Let's give her a second. Phone's going straight to voicemail.
I just spoke to her. She lost her internet and she's just going to dial in by phone.
Okay. This won't happen when we have Martin set us up. I'll wait till I see her come back on again. Just heard somebody. Jennifer, have you signed on?
She's not on yet, Mayor. I just spoke with her. She's trying in.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm going to continue because we don't know how long she will be. I'll keep an eye out and then we can alter the record showing she has signed back on when she's here. So the meeting is now open. Adequate notice of the meeting was provided by posting a copy of the time and place on the municipal clerk's bulletin board and mailing a copy of same to the press and the Cape May County Herald on April 16th, 2020. Will everyone please rise to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, this council meeting was held via video telephone conference in a Zoom format. I see Jennifer's video, but I do not. All right, it appears she's here. So let the record show that Mrs. Gensimer is here. Please add her to the roll, clerk.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Do we have any communications?
No, Mayor, we don't.
We'll now have public comment. Anybody wishing to address mayor and council may do so at this time by raising your hand electronically. If you are in the meeting via video, click on the appropriate location. If you are participating via telephone, please hit *9. When called upon, you will state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone who would like to address mayor and council? I do not see any electronic hands and I don't see any physical hands raising either. Does anyone else? Seeing no one, I'll close public comment. Resolution 2020 S-154.
I'd like to offer Resolution 2020-S-154 for adoption.
Second.
This is a resolution to continue our shared service agreement that we have with Avalon and North Wildwood that pertains to Hereford Inlet. And I believe if I've read it correctly, that to extend this to April 30th, 2022.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Can't hear you, Jen.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Kraftcheck? Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-155. Charles?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I offer Resolution 2020-S-155 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution authorizes the appointment of Neil Yoskin as special counsel for the Borough area as disputed offshore of the point.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-156.
Mayor and council, I offer resolution 2020-S-156 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution appoints Megan Brown as the alternate deputy registrar through the year 2020.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-157.
Madam Mayor, I offer Resolution 2020-S-157 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution authorizes that we accept the audit as done by Ford Scott as complete. And I'll note that as noted in our work session, according to our CFO, Jim Kraft, we are in good standing and there was no comment. It was otherwise unremarkable.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-158.
Madam Mayor and Council, I present Resolution 2020-S-158 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution refunds beach tag fees to Ms. Verba and Mr. Kramer.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-159.
Madam Mayor and Council, I offer Resolution 2020-S-159 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution is for the refund of some performance/surety monies that were not used in conjunction with projects and regarding the the street openings. There are approximately 15 entities for approximately $24,000.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-160.
I'd like to offer Resolution 2020-S-160 for adoption.
Second.
This is authorizing refunds for the surf camp to 2 different individuals.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-161.
Mayor and council, I offer resolution 2020-S-161. This is for a liquor license renewal for Fred's.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-162.
Mayor and Council, I offer Resolution 2020-S-162 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution renews the liquor license for Quay Hogs on 97th Street.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mr. Gensimer? Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
Yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-S-163.
Mayor and council, I offer resolution 2020-S-163. This is the emergency appropriation for the shortfall of the budget for the lifeguards.
Any discussion?
Second.
Sorry, you got the second? Okay. Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-164.
Madam Mayor and Council, I present Resolution 2020-S-164 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution amends the salary range for beach tag personnel.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
Resolution 2020 S-165.
Madam Mayor, I offer resolution 2020-S-165 for adoption.
Second.
This resolution authorizes the hiring of a professional appraiser and in connection with a potential acquisition of real property by the borough. I'll take this time to remind the rest of council that this matter is confidential and any discussions related here to shall not name the property in question.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Gensimer?
Yes.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Parzak?
yes,
Mrs. Rich?
Yes.
I need a motion authorizing the special event permit to the Chamber of Commerce for the sidewalk sale that was discussed 2 weeks ago at the work session.
Madam Mayor and Council, I make a motion to accept the application for the sidewalk sale, which we're expanding to 4 days this year due to COVID-19 concerns and crowds.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So now we need a motion approving the special event application that we discussed at the work session for St. Brendan the Navigator Church. And that motion would include a waiving of the fees.
Okay, Madam Mayor and Council, I make a motion that we accept the special event application from St. Brendan the Navigator Parish for the use of the recreation facilities for the Wedding of the Sea, waiving all fees.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion, we have my report. I have nothing to report this week. We're just in summer, and at this point, we're just moving along, doing well, I think. So may I have a motion approving the bill list?
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the bill list and authorize the CFO to pay the bills when the funds are available and the vouchers are properly endorsed.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll now have a second public comment. Anyone wishing to address mayor and council may do so at this time by raising your hand electronically. If you're on the meeting via video, click on the appropriate location. If you are participating via telephone, please hit *9. When you're called upon, you will state your name and address for the record. I am not seeing anyone. Seeing no hands, I will close public comment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Have a good night. Stay well.